Our next file is People of the State of Michigan versus Ashley Cruz. We have any victim impact statement as to count 2, the assault with a weapon.
We do that.
All right, thank you. Allocution, Mr. Harrison.
Well, again, I often search for unique adjectives to use, particularly when I've been asked to speak about several cases in a row. And I think I've already used up the word chaotic. However, I don't think there's a better word to describe what was going on there that day, as the court has already noted. Mr. Wright backed a vehicle or into it, or something happened, and immediately took offense, claiming that Mr. Prosy was somehow responsible for that. And that was a whole, I can only describe it. I wish I could more accurately describe the personalities of the people involved. And I think that would just simply add another layer of almost farcical information for the court to consider in that regard, which is not to act as though that should be a mitigating factor here. Although I would say her behavior was primarily designed to protect her daughter, and the unfortunate location of the methamphetamine, notwithstanding, in the bag that she was giving the officer to take for her daughter.
It's unfortunate that the bag that had the daughter's items also had.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole,
right.
It's a comedy of errors in a number of ways, but let's get to the essence of the issue here. And the essence of the issue here is that Ashley was having a problem. She's having a problem. As noted in the report, she's had issues with substances for a while. Are they serious? Are they life? I don't know, but they're serious enough that she's now in a significant amount of trouble with regard to her status before the law. She has secured employment. I have a letter from her employer. She brought me, I don't know what I did with it. She's a manager of housekeeping at Evergreen Resort. I do know this. I've known Ashley for a number of years, and I can tell you she's employable. She's always employable. I also know that she has, again, we'll use the word, an extremely chaotic relationship with the fathers of her children. She is currently locked in a battle with the other parent of this particular child that was involved in this incident, et cetera, et cetera. So she's fighting a multiple front war against multiple situations involving her children, none of which excuses or gives the court a reason to reconsider whether or not she ought to be sanctioned for this behavior, because she should be. We know that. I'm pleased that the guidelines that are to be applied to this matter, I believe, more accurately reflect her status and her place in the continuum of her criminal history. I have that letter right here if the court's interested in reviewing it. I don't want to see her derail any of the progress that she's made. I want her to keep this job. I want her to be in the state of mind that she's going to need to be in to fight the battles she's going to have to fight on behalf of her children, some of which are in the very near future. It's one of those conundrums, Your Honor, because I know that Ashley's a good person, and I know that for the most part, well, I don't always applaud the decisions that she makes in her life. She's capable of doing so. That is not reflected when you see a report such as this one. It describes a person who, at least temporarily, was acting out of control and perhaps overreacting inappropriately to further instances of stress in her life, interaction with the troopers that day. I'm asking that the court take all of that into consideration and impose a sentence that fits within these guidelines in 0 to 17. I would like to see her on probation because I think probation will provide her with the one thing she hasn't had in her life is structure. And it'll provide some oversight. So while she's fighting these concurrent battles, there's no need for her to feel overwhelmed because she'll have resources to draw upon to the probation department that'll help her through all of that. In the long run, yeah, she has a good track record on probation as well. In the long run, that I think is the more beneficial situation, not only for Ashley Cruzy, but for society at large. Because she will continue in her employment, she will continue to be productive in that regard as well. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Carey.
I seriously question whether Ms. Prosy is supervisable. I want to start with description of the offense. Yes, Mr. Wright had a trailer and went into the house and, confronted her about that, why the trailer was parked where it was. Her response to that was to pull out a machete and say she was going to gut him like a pig. She then left the residence. When police were there, she snuck back in, barricaded herself in a bedroom with his daughter, refused to comply with the police. Eventually, after several, I believe it was a few hours, got her out, where she continued to resist. Then she was on bond. She had 3 bond violations filed against her. She was allowed to go to treatment, which she left after 3 days. She didn't enroll in the EOP as she was told, and as of the date of the PSI, still had not yet started treatment. Those are the things that people find important. Her life is chaotic. Her children, she's got these battles over her children. I think she needs to look at her own actions in this. And if she gets that chaos under control by getting help and taking the help that's been offered to her, her life might be less chaotic. I'm not sure what progress she's actually made in the short time that these cases have been pending. But none of it appears, has involved getting the help or treatment that she needs. And in fact, just stopping it on her own when it's been offered and not enrolling at all. So frankly, I am going to ask, I understand what the guidelines are, but given her behavior, and then I remind the court a month after the initial case, she took meth with her into the jail. So I do question seriously her supervisability and would ask, in spite of the guidelines, for a significant jail sentence. Thank you.
And I couldn't pay the $160. So I did have it delayed for a little bit, and then I got picked up on a Traverse City and I was jailed, and then I ended up losing my job, and it was a lot. But since these last about month now, I have been full-time management, running a whole housekeeping, thing. I'm working over 40 hours a week. I'm in there every single day. I've been doing everything that I can. I go to CMH for counseling, and I have a person that does it in home that is working with me. I'm also a part of the Club Cadillac, Caring Cadillac, and I go to TWS for my psyche help.
What'd you get arrested on up in Traverse City?
Back in December, I got a driving without insurance, or I got driving without driver's license.
Oh, okay, I do see that. Well, Mr. Stapleton, you realize that that's not included in our PSI.
Yeah, there's a lot of flaws in my PSI, Your Honor.
So that's why.
There's a lot.
Well, what are the flaws?
For one, I'm being shorted out on a 7411 deal, and then, hold on a second.
But you said the 411 was dismissed.
Yeah, but there says 10 points, that I have a current felony conviction. I have no felony conviction. I have nothing on there.
Concurrent felony.
That's a concurrent felony, means you got 2 going on at the same time. That's PRV 10. Yes. So you don't have any scorings for PRV 1 or 2. So that's not wrong. You have scorings for PRV 10 because you have 2 files here. And one has 2 felonies. That's why you score for PRV 10. So you're not misscored there. But what I'm telling you here is also, what is missing is you got picked up on something new. Templeton, so you're probably gonna need to figure that one out. Got it? So she's got another conviction out there that we don't even know about. That'd be scoreable. But that means she got picked up on other charges. So, all right. Anything else, Ms. Cruzy?
If possible, I would like a hearing, to go over my OB scoring and stuff like that.
On what? So you've got, I've changed the scoring for OB1 and OB2. What's different for, and that's on count 1. And so you only score 19. That's for, actually, what is that scored for?
It's resisting arrest in effect.
Well, but that's for the possession of meth. Mr. Harrison, is the defense asking me to set this for a hearing?
I don't believe a hearing will be necessary.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Ms. Cruzy?
Okay.
All right. Well, count 2, the court does not need to find reasonable ground. And we had a violation on bond. And the only reason I released you was to see if you'd get in trouble again, but you didn't. That's good. What I don't hear is that you went to community corrections and asked for help to make sure that you did what I told you to do. You didn't do that. So you violated your bond by using, and you violated your bond by not following the court's orders. You've been using marijuana since you were 10, and you've been using methamphetamine since you were about 13. You fried your brain, and you're probably, I don't know what you're going to do to get over this. So, and I'll tell you, one of the things that stands out to me here is that you had 16.5 grams of methamphetamine in the bag that you used for your child. You've lost multiple other children. Maybe you're not picking up the pattern, but you are a danger to your children. You've lost your other kids and you can't seem to stop doing that. And let's look at this. You brought out the machete and said, I'm going to cut him like a pig. And then you were resisting the police officers. It took 3 officers to get you under control. And there had been some kind of standoff that lasted a period of time. All right, here's how this works, okay? Here's how this works. Pay attention.
All right, sir.
When I give you all an opportunity to speak, that's called due process. And then when I ask, do you have anything else? You say you're done, then you're done. And then it's my turn to speak. And you don't talk when I talk. I didn't talk when you were talking. I didn't look over to the clerks and say, hey, what did you hear what you just said? That doesn't make any sense. So, you're a danger to your kids. I'm not going to let the kids be the sympathy here because you've lost other children and you've got one and you're still got, isn't that what I heard here? Hold on. All right. Well, the point here is I'm worried about your kids, and the fact that you're fighting for them is great. Not going to change me. It doesn't give me any sympathy at all. I'm not worried about your job today or tomorrow or next week. I'm not worried about whether or not you lose your children for a couple of weeks or a year or a month or whatever it is. I'm worried about 10 years from now. I'm worried about 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Because you so far put yourself on the path of self-destruction. And while you might be on bond, you might go and get a job and be able to hold it down for a while. I do not let that necessarily swing my sentence. I don't know if what you're going to do next month. And I'll tell you, the legislature says in some instances, if you violate bond, I can only give you 15 days. Doesn't make sense to me sometimes, but that's okay. But they also say that the judge has discretion and the judge can find reasonable grounds. This scene here was chaotic. Was the daughter there? It looks like the daughter was there.
She was dropped off, I believe, while the defendant was running out in the woods and came back and then barricaded herself in with the daughter.
So here's the sentence of the court. And again, you do have some prior criminal history. It's counted on here, referenced on here. You've had the job at Evergreen for 14 days, for 2 weeks. And before that, you held a job for about 5 years, maybe. That's it. You don't seem to follow the rules, and you're a threat and violent threat to people and your children, and you don't seem to learn. And that's my problem. The court sentenced the defendant to a period of 36 months of probation. So now we turn to this possession of methamphetamine. The court looks at the guideline range 0 to 17. That's an intermediate sanction cell, but the defendant has not complied with the court's bond conditions. And the court is also concerned based upon the amount of the methamphetamine that was found. And there, the court sentences the defendant to 180 days, and the defendant receives 23 days of credit. As to the assault resist destructive police officer, this is an example why police officers have a very difficult job, and her violence and her attitude continued while they were there, and it took a lot for them to get her to calm down. The court sentenced the defendant to 180 days with 23 days in jail.
Does this require the maximum?
Oh, because she's got no prior felony?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh.
you're right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it's 180 to 100 days to 120 months. It is 180 days to 24 months for count 2. All right. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.